25,000 people drove out to a farm in Oxfordshire in June. Not a festival. Not a concert. A farming trade show, tractors, agronomists, seed representatives, the works, and it happened to land on the one farm in Britain that spent the last few years fighting its own local council over exactly this kind of crowd. That's Diddley Squat. Jeremy Clarkson's place, near Chipping Norton, the one from the Amazon show. And on the 10th of November-June it hosted Cereals 2026, which is the UK's flagship arable farming event, normally held somewhere quieter, somewhere with fewer cameras pointed at it. More than 25,000 people showed up, according to Farmer's Guide, along with upwards of 650 exhibitors by some counts. Farmers Weekly puts the visitor number in the same ballpark, about 25,000, though its exhibitor figure lands closer to the same 650-plus mark too. Worth noting, the pre-event estimate from Milling and Grain had pegged exhibitors at 550, so either a lot more turned up than expected or somebody's counting differently. Nobody's cleared that up. Day 2 got hammered by rain. The Scottish farmer describes a showground that turned properly muddy, though people kept coming anyway. One outlet reported that Day 1 alone pulled in something like 16,000 visitors under better weather, with the rest trickling in through the mud on Day 2, though that number comes from a single source, so treat it as a headline rather than a confirmed split. Here's the part that makes this interesting rather than just a big trade show story. This is the first time Cereals has ever been held at Diddley Squat. It's always run at established host farms, and it's already been confirmed to move on again, to Andrew Ward's Heath farm in Lincolnshire, for 2027. So Diddley Squat wasn't picked as a permanent new home. It was a one-off. And nobody's fully explained why. Now stack that next to what's actually been going on at that farm for the past few years. Clarkson has been in a running fight with West Oxfordshire District Council pretty much since the show made the place famous. The farm shop turned into a magnet for visitors almost overnight, and the access roads around Chadlington weren't built for it. That's well documented, going back to when the series first aired. The car park became a flashpoint. So did a proposed restaurant. So did a farm track. Multiple planning applications, multiple rounds of local objection, and eventually an appeal to the planning inspectorate that gave him a temporary car park to ease the congestion, but stopped short of approving a full restaurant. St John's Chambers and a couple of planning law outlets have tracked this dispute in detail, and it's part of why Clarkson's clause, the planning rule change letting farmers convert old agricultural buildings without the usual red tape, gets tied back to this farm specifically. So you've got a piece of land that's already fighting its council about too many visitors and too much traffic. And the solution, in June, was to invite 25,000 more people onto it for 2 days. You could read that as either completely oblivious or kind of perfect, depending on your mood. It's hard not to wonder whether putting the UK's biggest arable trade show on the most traffic-contested farm in the country was somebody's idea of proving a point that the site can actually handle a crowd when it's managed properly. But nothing in the reporting says that was the intent. It might just be that Cereals needed a big-name host for 1 year and Clarkson said yes. Coincidence dressed up as symbolism happens more often than people want to admit. And here's the thing nobody's actually answered: did the traffic problem show up again? Farmers Weekly notes that most attendees reported smooth access, but there's no traffic data behind that, no count of resident complaints, no official report from the council on how the roads coped. For a farm whose entire planning saga is about traffic, that's a strange gap to leave open. Maybe it went fine. Maybe nobody's checked yet. Either way, it's not settled. Quick tangent, because it's too good not to mention, the pub Clarkson runs nearby, the Farmer's Dog in Asthole, has a self-imposed rule that everything on the menu has to be British-sourced, which meant no cola and no rum on the bar for ages until a UK sugar-beet spirit distillery finally gave him a domestic alternative. It's a small thing, but it tells you something about how this whole operation runs: stubborn rules, applied consistently, even when it's inconvenient. Might be relevant to how he approaches hosting a farm show on contested land. Might just be a fun fact about a pub menu. Take your pick. Back to the event itself, because there's real substance under the spectacle. Charlie Ireland, cheerful Charlie from the show, reportedly had a hand in curating this year's cereals, according to Farmers Weekly sourcing. Caleb Cooper's contracting business apparently handled groundwork for the site, per milling and grain. There was a new livestock zone sponsored by Nofence, and an organic agronomy area that hadn't existed before. And NFU President Tom Bradshaw used the platform to push the government on fertilizer price support, specifically calling out an ammonium nitrate threshold of £500 a tonne, according to the Scottish farmer. Clarkson's own comments afterward leaned earnest rather than jokey, which is a bit of a departure from his usual register. He called it an absolute honour to be chosen as host and said it was a delight to see so many people turn up. Before the event he'd framed it as a chance to do something for an industry that's facing so many issues at the moment. Event director Ali McIntyre Gaharan called the turnout a real testament to the strength and commitment of the farming community, despite what she described as challenging weather. Compare that 25,000 to last year's cereals, at a different farm entirely. Future Farming Report's 2026 crowd was roughly 5,000 bigger than 2025's, which puts the previous year somewhere around 20,000. So the jump isn't small, and it isn't nothing either. It's a meaningful bump, at a location that spent years being told by its own council that it draws too many people already. Whether that's a coincidence of timing or something closer to a deliberate move to demonstrate the farm can host at scale, nobody involved has said so on the record. The facts just sit there next to each other: a congestion dispute, a temporary car park, a rejected restaurant, and then 25,000 people showing up anyway, on purpose, for a trade show. Draw your own line between those dots. What actually happened on those roads over those 2 days is still the open thread here. Somebody knows. It just hasn't made it into print yet. If you're the type who wants to know whether Diddley Scott gets a repeat invitation once Heath Farm's turn is up, that's the one worth watching for. I'll believe it when the 2028 host farm gets announced.